He used to curse my name, until the night he found the letter I wrote to him when I was 15 and still believed in forever. The storm was roaring outside the abandoned chapel, its shattered glass reflecting 100 broken memories. Myself was self, a distracting man. Cassian's hand trembled as he unfolded the paper, edges yellowed, words smudged by time and tears. The scent of sea salt and old ink filled the air. His name, written in her familiar looping hand, pierced through every wall he had built. Why did she keep loving him, even after he swore here? Why did the letter glow, as if alive, beneath his touch? And in that moment, he realized something he never wanted to believe. The past was not finished with them. Eveline stands in the rain outside the chapel, watching the glow through the cracks in the stone. She had buried that letter beneath the altar 9 years ago, along with everything she once felt. But now, fate had unearthed it. She whispers a curse under her breath, wishing she could burn the past before it burns them both. Cassian's hands shake as the letter reveals a memory he doesn't remember living. A girl's voice laughing, waves crashing, and the words, "When you become king, don't forget me." His breath catches. He remembers the promise he never made, and the heart he did not mean to break. Eveline moves toward the door, her pulse racing. Every instinct screams to run, but the letter's magic calls her by name. For the first time in years, she hears his voice in her head, not full of hate, but of confusion. The spell has begun to bind them again. Nishoris, Nishor. His spell has begun to bind them again. As Cassian finally looks up, his gaze locks with Eveline's through the storm. The letter flares between them, glowing like a soul remembering its name. Neither moves, neither speaks. Only the sound of thunder, and the truth that was never meant to rise again. The glow from the letter didn't fade. It bloomed, spilling into the air like mist made of memory. Cassian staggered back, clutching his chest as voices echoed from the past. Eveline's laughter filled the chapel, though her lips didn't move. The spell had awakened, dragging them both into the one place they feared most, their shared past. How do you fight a memory that refuses to forget you? The memory pulls them backward to a day of sunlight and salt wind. They are young again, standing on the beach where everything began. Eveline's voice is soft and bright, promising a future she didn't yet know would fall apart. Cassian watches her younger self with an ache he doesn't understand, whispering to the wind, "We were never meant to forget this." Eveline gasps as the illusion bends, the sound of waves replaced by the shatter of battle cries. The memory shifts to the night everything broke. Fire in the sky, her brother shouting her name, and Cassian's sword drawn against her people. The letter burns in her hand, the same one that now binds her. Was it love that cursed them, or guilt that never died? In the present, Cassian falls to the floor, gripping his head as fragments of memory strike him like lightning. He sees her standing over his wounded body, refusing to let him die. He remembers how her hands trembled when she whispered the forbidden healing spell. And now, for the first time, he understands. She betrayed her kingdom to save his life. The spell settles between them, fragile and alive. Cassian's voice is barely a whisper. "You saved me when you should have let me die." Eveline's reply is quiet but sharp enough to break a heart. "And you hated me for it ever since." The letter floats gently to the ground, pulsing. The letter floats gently to the ground. Once, as if satisfied that its truth had finally been heard. Worse, as this truth had finally been heard. The letter's glow deepened from blue to crimson, pulsing like living fire. Cassian tried to tear it apart, but every shred mended itself in his hands. Eveline's voice trembled as she whispered the truth. The spell was bound by her blood, sealed with love and regret. When she was 15, She didn't know such letters could curse. Now, the curse had chosen to wake. What if every heartbeat they shared from now on came at a price? Pain tore through Cassian's chest, a cut that wasn't his own. Eveline gasped, clutching her side, feeling the same wound bloom under her palm. The bond had sealed. Every hurt, every heartbeat, every unspoken word, now shared. He met her eyes with horror and awe. "You tied our souls," he said, voice cracking. She whispered back, "I didn't mean to." The storm outside quieted, but inside them, chaos. Eveline's memories flooded his mind. The night she wrote the letter, her tears staining the paper, her voice whispering his name into the sea. Cassian's heart thrashed with her sorrow, her love, her despair. He had spent years hating her, never knowing he had been feeling her pain all along. Eveline staggered to the altar, desperate to undo what her younger self had done. She drew a dagger, slicing her palm, letting the blood drip over the letter, but the magic only flared brighter, sealing the cut instantly. Cassian grabbed her wrist, voice low. "Stop. The curse won't break with pain. It feeds on it." Their joined hands glowed, and for a heartbeat she felt his pulse against hers, steady and frighteningly human. The light dimmed, the storm calmed, and in the silence Cassian's voice softened for the first time in years. "If our hearts are bound, then so is our fate." Eveline met his gaze. Neither of them could tell where hatred ended and destiny began. The letter floated between them once more, burning faintly as if listening. Outside, the sea roared its answer. The curse had only just begun. By morning, smoke rose from the valley. The rebellion had begun. Eveline's brother, Terran, had marched on the northern vale, his banners painted in blood and vengeance. Cassian watched the flames from the chapel cliffs, his jaw set, his hand still trembling from the bond. He'd once sworn to protect his kingdom from traitors. But what if the traitor he hunted was the only one his heart refused to kill? Eveline rode hard through the mist to reach her brother before Cassian's soldiers did. Every heartbeat she felt wasn't her own. Cassian's pulse echoed through her veins, fierce and steady, reminding her that neither of them could escape the other. When she found Terran, his eyes burned with fury. "You love the man who destroyed us," he spat. And for the first time, she couldn't answer. Back in the capital, Cassian faced the council. They demanded Eveline's capture. The witch who had cursed their prince. Rage flared in him at the word. He slammed his hand on the table, feeling her fear echo through his bones from miles away. The connection burned hot, warning him she was in danger. He rose without a word and left the hall. The war could wait. She couldn't. Eveline found herself surrounded by rebels who once called her sister. They accused her of betraying them for love. Their blades trembled, their eyes full of hate, but before steel could strike, the air cracked. Cassian appeared at the edge of the woods, his sword drawn, his expression unreadable. The curse had guided him to her, like a compass pointing to the heart it belonged to. Terran steps between them, blade pressed to Cassian's throat. "You can't save both your love and your people," he growls. Eveline cries out, her pulse flaring red as Cassian's pain bleeds into her own. She grabs her brother's arm, shouting, "Then take me instead." Lightning splits the sky. The letter in Cassian's coat ignites with light, the bond blazing between all three. The curse had chosen, and it would not spare anyone. The battlefield had turned to ash by dawn. Eveline knelt beside Cassian's unconscious body, her hands glowing faintly as she tried to heal the wound her brother left behind. Every pulse of light that left her skin drained her more. Then through the smoke came the sound of carriage wheels. The queen had arrived. Lady Sarah stepped down, her crown gleaming like frost, her eyes fixed on Eveline with quiet, lethal recognition. You should not have awakened what was meant to sleep. Inside the queen's tent, the truth finally spilled like spilled wine. Lady Ceres revealed the legend. A blood letter written in love could bind two souls until death or forgiveness. Eveline's childish vow, sealed with a drop of her blood, had turned prophecy into life. Cassian stirred beside her, weak but awake, his voice breaking as he whispered, "You cursed us by loving me." She shook her head. "No. I saved you by believing in you." The queen's voice softened, the first crack in her frozen mask. The letter was never a curse. It was protection. When my son was born, the seers warned his heart would be his downfall. Your words tethered his soul to something pure. Eveline's breath caught. The prophecy wasn't about destruction. It was about survival. And now, to break the bond, one of them had to forget the other completely. Eveline sat beside Cassian's bed that night, unable to speak the words she now carried. If she broke the bond, he would forget her. Every smile, every touch, every heartbeat they had shared would vanish from his mind forever. Yet if she didn't, their souls would burn together until there was nothing left. Her tears fell onto the letter she held, the same one that had begun it all. Could she bear to be forgotten by the one person who finally saw her? When Cassian awoke, Eveline was gone. The letter lay on his chest, sealed again, this time with her tear instead of blood. Outside, the queen watched the horizon, whispering the old prophecy under her breath. Only the one who loves without memory can break the bond of blood. Cassian clutched the letter, his heart aching with a love he couldn't remember and a pain he couldn't name. The moon was high when Cassian followed the pull of the bond to the ruins where they once played as children. The sea howled against the cliffs, just as it did the night he first held her hand. Though the letter no longer glowed, he could still feel her, like a whisper under his skin. And when he finally saw her standing there, her cloak billowing in the wind, it was as if time itself bent to let their story finish what it had started. Eveline turned, eyes wet but defiant. "You shouldn't remember me," she said. Cassian's voice was low, trembling with something between anger and awe. "Then why do I see your face every time I close my eyes?" She shook her head, clutching the letter close to her heart. The spell should have erased her from his memory, yet the bond refused to die. Perhaps love was stronger than even the queen's prophecy. Norks Dristersti Anyal, queen's prophecy. He reached for her hand, but the curse flared red once more, pushing them apart with invisible force. Their memories flashed between them, their laughter, their fights, the first time she healed him, the last time he said her name in hatred. Cassian shouted over the wind, "Tell me the truth, Eveline. What did you write in that letter?" Her lips trembled as she whispered, "Everything I wasn't brave enough to say." Eveline's voice broke as she began to recite the words of the letter, her voice trembling with love and grief. "If love is a curse, then let it be mine to bear. If you forget me, may the sea remember." Each word sent light into the air, the spell unraveling like silk threads in the wind. Cassina's eyes filled with tears as the bond around their wrists began to fade. "You were 15, he whispered, "and you still loved me better than I ever deserved." As the last word left her lips, the wind died. The letter floated gently between them and landed in Cassian's palm. The runes flared once, then turned to ash. He looked at her as if seeing her for the first time, not through memory, not through magic, but through truth. "You wrote that you believed in me," he said softly. "And I still do," she whispered. The sea below them roared, as if the world itself sighed in relief. Dawn broke soft and silver across the sea. Eveline stood at the cliff's edge, the ashes of the letter resting in her palms. Every heartbeat felt like goodbye. Cassian stepped beside her, silent. The curse was gone, but the bond... The one that needed no magic, lingered between them like a ghost. She whispered, "We were children when I promised to love you. Now I'm strong enough to let you go." But her hands refused to open. Cassian's hand brushed hers, his voice barely a whisper. "If forgetting is freedom, then remember me anyway." Evelyn's breath caught. She closed her eyes and released the ashes into the wind. They rose like tiny stars before scattering into the sea. For a heartbeat, she felt the warmth of his memory fade, but the ache in her chest remained. Maybe love wasn't meant to end. Maybe it was meant to change. The Queen's voice echoed in Cassian's mind. Only the one who loves without memory can break the bond of blood. He watched Evelyn walk away from the cliffs, her silhouette fading into the golden mist. For the first time in years, his heart felt still. He didn't remember her face, her name, or her touch. But something in his soul whispered her name anyway, like a prayer he had forgotten how to say. Weeks later, Evelyn returned to the old chapel one last time. The ruins were quiet now, the sea calm, the air clean. She placed a single white lily where the letter once burned and whispered, "Thank you for remembering me when you weren't supposed to." As she turned to leave, a single folded parchment drifted onto the floor. Blank, except for one word written in familiar handwriting. Always. As the waves whispered against the rocks below, the ashes of the letter finally sank beneath the tide, and in their place, a new light bloomed across the horizon. Two souls unbound, yet still tethered by something stronger than fate. He hated her once, but love, it seemed, had never stopped writing its own letters, even after memory forgot the words.